Hi guys. Okay, so in today's video, I wanted to talk about how creativity works, and I'm going to share as intimately as I can my creative process. My goal in making this video is to just start a conversation, and maybe as you're listening, you're going to hear something that makes you be like, "Oh, like I have a similar process," or maybe you have a totally different process and then you can share with us like what you do. The goal is to improve and increase everybody's creativity and make us feel more connected to what we're actually doing and what we are creating. Because I do believe that creativity is a practice. It's something that you have to be committed to. It's something that you work at. I used to believe that it was like this download of genius, and then you would just, when you get inspired, you just run with it. But as I get older, and I'm like in my early 40s, okay, like as I get older, I have really started to believe that it's like a choice. It's like everyone is creative, everyone has genius inside them, everyone has access to that genius. And it's about showing up and being committed and doing the work. And it's also this process of like release, okay? So when I think about like how I actually connect with the creative spirit, I think there's always an intention. So I usually start by thinking about it's almost like the structure or the framework that I want this thing to be. And it's kind of thinking about like, what do I want to feel and what do I want to create? So when I was like working on the book, for example, I would sit there and I would literally, like, before I picked up a pen or sat at my computer or anything, I would actually visualize and I would actually be like, okay, what do I want it to be? And I would think about the chapter and I would think about like, what am I trying to say? And actually try to connect to that message that I'm trying to deliver. Sometimes it doesn't always come in like a clear word, but first I just create a container for myself. So I think about, okay, it's a chapter, or I think about, okay, it's a video, or even if I'm going out, because I also think like walking and exercise and dance like is also creative and that helps get you into the flow. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, it's a walk. It's a 2-mile walk. I have my headphones in. So there's a bit of a visualization of the structure of what you want it to be. You're almost calling forth like this is how this is like the canvas that I'm going to be working on. And so in doing that, there's a kind of focus that happens because if you're anything like me, you are kind of pulled in a lot of different directions. Like, you know, if I walk by the laundry, I will think to myself, I should do the laundry, right? If I I'm a very visual person. So if I see something that needs to be done, I will get distracted and I will go do it, okay? It's like, "Oh, I should load the dishwasher because I walked past the dishwasher." Okay? That's just like everyday life that happens, that like you get pulled in by different visual stimulus. And I think the first step is kind of detaching from that everyday space in order to connect to what it is that you want to create, or like what form or what experience you want to have. Okay, another thing that I do is I try to prime myself by feeding myself motivation. So, for example, like I just brought this book to show you guys. Like I am reading this book. It's called Ritual by Malidoma Patrice Somé. It's really great. He was raised in West Africa and he talks about the village that he was raised in and the rituals around grieving and around initiations that he experienced. It's a really short read. It's a great read. Anyway, I've been reading this book before bed and I feel like I'm always reading some kind of spiritual book. You guys know that. But it's kind of like, okay, you also need to fill your mind with things that are not everyday, right? There's the idea of like the sacred and the profane, and the profane is like the everyday. It's the dishes, it's the laundry, it's the kid pickups, it's all of like life's callings, right? And then the sacred is like bringing yourself into a designated space where spirit and creativity can inhabit, right? And so if I'm ever feeling, which is a lot, but if I'm ever feeling demotivated, or if I'm ever feeling like what am I going to do? I will just pick up a spiritual book. I will find a book that I am either into or have been into, and I will just read a chapter. Guaranteed to like get you out of your funk, like guaranteed. Another thing sometimes I do is I'll literally go on like YouTube and I'll just like search for like a motivational like whatever thing I'm trying to do, if it's like creativity or if it's like exercise. Like exercise, I'm like, all I need to do is like hear Shakira or hear a Britney song, and like I will want to dance, I will want to walk. So you also have to fill your visual senses and your auditory senses with like things that are going to motivate you. Like another thing, like if I'm gonna go take a walk, which then primes me to get into a creative space, I will also find a podcast. But instead of podcasts, actually, I've been listening to audiobooks. Let me show you guys. This is not sponsored, obviously, but like I've just been listening to Audible, and I'll show you what's like in my library. I've been listening to a ton of Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She is the one who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. And so I've just like downloaded all of her. I have like gardening basics. Then I have like Warming the Stone Child, which is a audiobook about myths and stories about abandonment and the unmothered child. I then have her, that was a short one. That was an hour and a half. And then I have her Creative Fire one, which is great. And then I'm listening to The Late Bloomer, which is so long. It's like 6 hours. Somehow I think I have 4 hours left. But I will put one of these on, and again, it'll just like get me into the mode. And these are like, $10, whatever, on Audible. It just like gets me in the mode, not sponsored. It just like gets me in the mode of thinking like, how can I? The other thing I like about the audiobook, guys, is like, I love a good podcast. I am like this recording will be a podcast. But sometimes don't you find that podcasts always have an agenda, or they have interruptions? I love the immersive nature of an audiobook. That's why I've kind of like fallen into it. I can't wait to like get into more of them and expand my repertoire, because I'm like, sometimes I don't also want to hear about this like great food subscription service like in the middle of my like spiritual alignment. So I've actually been getting into like just straight up downloading, and like you can download them from the library for free too, of course. But I find for some of the esoteric titles, like you do have to buy them. But like, I've just been getting into that because I really like the immersive nature, and I like just like picking up where I left off. So like I listen to it in the car when I'm doing all my pickups and drop-offs, and it just is, or like I go on these long walks, and like that's been really great. Okay. So you're priming your brain with inspirational or deeper books, okay? You're priming your brain by listening to like the right audio, right? I also do a creative check-in, and this comes a lot from my shamanic training. But in my shamanic training, basically they taught us how to journey, which is basically in like layman's terms, it's basically doing a meditation while it's like an active guided meditation, but you're guiding yourself. And it's based on the premise that like we don't have to over intellectualize everything and be like the boss of everything all the time. We can actually get help and insight, and we can get it from our inner wisdom and our inner knowing. And so when I journey, I'm actually going to a specific place. I go to like this cave, which is like my writing cave. And it used to be that I had to have a whole like process where I would have a drum and I would go down a certain path, and then I would arrive, and it would be a whole kind of pomp and circumstance. And nowadays I can literally just close my eyes and like, boom, be there. But I always like to check in and just be like, you want to go in with a state of openness and be like, what is the thing that I am trying to create? And just sit with having that open question. You can do this, like you can Google like, guided shamanic journey. You can do this. It's very easy. It's very accessible. Or you can just even, like, this is also what journaling is, right? Like, you can journal about it. You can write a question at the top of your page and you can be like, what is the next step of my creative journey? Or like, what do I need to know, see or know in this moment that can help me to create, right? And you just be patient. You just wait for an answer to come up and something will come. It'll be a feeling, it'll be a knowing, it'll be a download, it'll be a picture, it'll be a smell, it'll just be maybe even just a sense of peace. Sometimes you don't get an answer and that's okay. And then you can come back to it. And then you just know, like, that's also like permission that like maybe you're not ready at this exact moment. And like, that's okay. You can come back to it. Right. So I like to check in, and when I'm like connecting with that place, recently what I've been doing, like as I like close my eyes and just sort of like meditate on the question, is I ask myself, what is the truth of what I'm trying to say? Because I think in all art, in all expression, and even in all growth of your business, like if you are a business owner and you're like, okay, I feel lost, I don't know what to do next, right? Like I feel a little bit disconnected from my business or what have you, like oftentimes that's because there is something that you're working on internally and it's like a truth that you haven't yet named or like wrestled or like figured out yet. And you're scared because part of like the intuitive part of you knows the answer, like knows which way you want to go. But there's inner conflict because either it's like, oh, that's too expensive, or that's impractical, or that's too honest, or that's too raw, that's too soon. But oftentimes just sitting with thinking like, what is the truth that I am trying to communicate, And I think like I had this moment the other day when I was thinking about this YouTube channel, and I just like, in the most healthy, most respectful way possible, I literally was like, what is the point? Because it's like, what is the point? What's the point? Is the point for me to hit 100,000 followers and then and maybe this is like too meta, but if you're still watching at this point, then you're invested. So come along. But like, what is the point? And guys, like I really challenge you to think about this for yourselves, because everyone's going to get to this moment in their life where you're like running after something and you're trying to achieve something, and you really have to question, what is it for? Is it for me? Is it something that I actually need? Like if you're at a job and you're like, okay, if I stay 6 more months and then I'm going to get a promotion. And then what is that? What is that? Is it the money? Is it going to make you feel a certain way? Is it going to break through some kind of like curse, And I think about this and I'm like, I just truly don't know, which is so lame. But it's like, I mean, I say that lovingly, but sometimes you just do look at your life goals and you're like, this is actually all just like done without a lot of like thought. Like, okay, on paper, you could say the goal is to get to 100,000 followers because then you get the plaque. And when you get the plaque, what does that mean? It means you've made it, right? It means that you are like the 1% of people who actually have like broken through some kind of threshold. And that for everything, whether it's you're playing competitive soccer or whether you're a poet or whether you're a YouTuber, it's like everything needs to have some kind of demarcation, some kind of anointment of like, you've made it status. And I truly feel both incredibly motivated by that, because I am checking my stats often, and also incredibly disconnected, which is probably why I'm at this standstill, And I tell myself that it's like, you have to go deeper than that. You cannot just be doing all this for a plaque, I started this channel because I was like, I have things to say. And I started with like 4 followers and I was like, subscribers. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just going to use this as like a platform to like speak and to share and to like hopefully inspire somebody. And as time has gone on, I feel that personally my life is at a place where I'm like, it's kind of chaotic right now because we just moved, and like you guys can see, I'm still like, even just to have daily life, like making 3 meals a day, doing the laundry, getting the kids to all of their activities, filming content, packing journals, running my journal, all this shit, like that takes 95% effort to just stay maintaining. So the thought that like, okay, somehow I just basically have not like unpacked as much as I want to, because maintaining baseline is so hard, you know? And so I've been stressed out because I'm like living in boxes. You guys don't see it because it's all like shoved in the corner. I'm like living in boxes, and what I wish is I could take like 3 months off and just like unpack everything. But the like ambitious and practical side of me is like, Mandy, you have to like keep the lights on. Like you have to still make content. You have to still sell journals, and you still have to like hustle, you know? And so I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but it's sort of like, I know the peaceful thing would be to take a break, but there's also this like really hungry part of me. It's probably just fear, but this really hungry part that's like, no, you have to keep moving. You can't slow down because XYZ will happen. And if you want to hit your goals, like you're going to blah, blah, blah. So I'm just at this point where I'm really thinking about my goals, and I'm really like, what the fuck is the point? Okay. So that kind of staring into the abyss, right, is an example of a truth that I'm sitting with, a truth that I'm wrestling with, and a truth that I can't be alone in. I mean, other people must be having to maintain their lives while also trying to be ambitious, while also trying to like literally unpack and get settled, right? So I think I connect with that, and I'm like, is that the expression of something? And I'm very judgmental as well of my own process, because then of course I also think like, that is such first world problems. Like, what are you talking about? Like, get over yourself, like, you know, all of that kind of talk. And so I think that the creative process, like I read somewhere once where someone said, um, they were like a screenwriter, and they were like, if I don't feel embarrassed about what I've just written, or like if I'm writing a personal essay and I don't feel cringy, I don't feel like this is too vulnerable, then I haven't done my job. And I believe in that, because I think that the best work is work where you feel like, am I revealing too much? But I think also there's a difference between your like, um, what the intention is, right? Is the intention to share so much of yourself because you want to get attention and you want to get validation? Then that's not the right reason. But if you're sharing in order to truly connect and truly question and truly in the spirit of like collaboration, be like, hey, this is something that I've been through, and it is a healthy sort of supportive catharsis, then I think that that is like useful and good. Okay, so after then I've connected to what I want to say. What is my truth? What is the thing? What is the content of my art, or like what is the purpose of it? This is where honestly discipline and sitting with discomfort come in, because this is where you actually have to like get down and dirty and like do the work. And you will want to get up, you will want to stop, you will find a million reasons why it's like no. But I think that like a good artist is someone who is disciplined and who is like, okay, I will set my timer. I have this timer. I think I've shown you guys. So like, I will set this as like, I don't know, this was like $20. It's called Time Timer. I love it. It comes in like all these different colors too. But like, I will set my timer and I will be like, you're just going to finish. And I talk about this a lot, but I think that finishing is like one of the most important things that you can do, because it builds trust in yourself. It builds the fact that you will have an idea and then you will follow through on it. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be the best thing you ever wrote or the best video you ever filmed or the best, no, it could just exist, but it's that consistency of having, like, I'm telling you that closing the loop, like finishing the circle and being like, I had an idea and then I was brave enough to like listen to that, like connect with the truth of whatever that idea was. And then I had the maturity, let's call it, the actual maturity to see it through and to actually finish it. And finishing is brave because it means that you have heard the inner critic and you have done it anyway. Because I'm telling you, like, everybody has an inner critic and they're all crazy. It's like all of our mothers times 1,000 times anyone who's ever doubted you times like every annoying person that you ever went to high school with, like all rolled into one charismatic and deceivingly truthful voice in your head that tells you there's no point in doing this. It's already been done. There's something special about what you're doing. And finishing it and hitting publish and completing it is brave. It's brave. I'll tell you one last story and I'm gonna end. But like, I'm telling you, this is the year of like 1,000 projects. I have a scratch on my minivan. It's like a dark gray Toyota minivan. Okay. And I have been looking at that scratch for months. I got this repair spray, and there's 3 different types of spray paint that come in this kit. You have your base paint, you have your color paint, and then you have clear polish. I'm thinking to myself, I do my own nails. Like, how hard can this be? This is the same concept. You buff, you put on the clear, the base coat, color coat, clear coat. Like, this is we're just doing nails, but on my giant car, right? Like, this is no different. So I got there and I'm watching the videos and they're like, okay, first you have to take your scrubby thing and sand it. You need to sand the paint off. And I'm like, eh. So I do a test spot. I'm like, this looks fine. It looks great. But the scratch is like this big. So I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, this is now or never. And it's going to look worse before it looks better. And I'm really going to sand the paint off my own car. I could totally go to like a mechanic and get this done, but it would be like $1,000. So I'm like, no. I start sanding it. Oh, the paint is like off. And it now looks like a car, like at the junkyard, like where it's like been sandpapered off. I'm like, okay, there's no going back now. And there was a moment where I like had the spray paint in my hand and I'm like, and what I did, because I was like, I could really mess this up. This could look terrible. Spoiler, it looks kind of terrible, but it's fine. So I'm like standing there and I'm about to spray it. And then I'm like, I had to channel my inner creative, the person that wrote the book, the person that films the videos, the person that's like, okay, I literally pep talked myself into being like, if you're a person who's going to see this through, then you need to spray the paint now. Like, you're someone who bought the paint, so put the paint on. Is it going to be perfect? No. But is it going to be better than the huge scratches on the side of the car? Absolutely. So I go ahead, I spray the paint. It's black. The paint is black. I'm like, oh no. And then like, I'm looking for instructions. And I'm like, how long do I wait between coats? I don't know. I waited like 10 minutes later. My husband was like, you're supposed to wait like a day. I'm like, fuck. Okay. So I spray the first coat. It's completely black. I'm like, oh, now this looks like someone legitimately graffitied my car. Then I spray the color one and it looks awful. It's like splotchy. Oh my God. It just was so ugly. But I was like, okay, there's no turning back now. Trust the process, trust the process. So I sprayed it, I sprayed like 4 coats of the dark gray paint. And then I put the clear coat on and I just like walked away. I was like, okay, I've done it. As I was drying, my husband was like, that looks interesting. I was like, it's like, I got the stuff. I had to see it through. It is what it is. And he's like, well, you can always just, like scrub it down and start over if it gets really bad. I'm like, yeah, at that point, I probably would take it to an auto body shop. But basically, I checked it this morning because it had all overnight to dry and it actually looks better. It doesn't, it definitely looks like I just randomly spray painted my car, but it does look better. And do I regret it? No, because again, it's like progress over perfection. Like I did it, it's done. Because otherwise, what is going to happen? I'm going to sit there paralyzed. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do it good enough. It's not going to be sprayed perfect enough. Oh, let me go make an appointment. Then it's like 9 months later before it's done. I'm like, you know what? And my husband was also like, Mandy, it's a 10-year-old beat up minivan. Like, it doesn't matter. I was like, you know what? I was like, you're right. It doesn't matter. That is the creative process. That is the creative spirit. Okay, I love you guys. I hope this video was helpful. And if you enjoy my antics, one way you can support the channel is I have a YouTube membership program, and you can it's like click to join, and you pay $5.99 a month. It just helps to support the channel. It means that I can be more of an independent creator and I don't have to rely on ads. I mean, like sponsored stuff, like you kids can see, I've never done any sponsored content. I'd like to keep it that way. I really like having my own independence, and I am trying to connect directly with you guys. So if you are a member, you get special videos, like members only videos, members only posts. And I also mail you a physical thank you gift. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Okay, love you. Bye.